Hashem, today's Daf Yomi is Sanhedrin Nun Gimel. We'll start on the bottom of Nun Beis. Nun Beis at the Mishnah, and and today's Daf is dedicated for Shemir for the Chayalim, for Tzal for the Shvuyim, and the Yeshua for Am Yisrael. It says the Mishnah on the bottom of Nun Beis, Nun Beis, mitzvah Sanech Nakin, the mitzvah of the Chenek is strangulation. They would keep him in the manure at our kobosa until his knees. And it was in Sudar Kasha Tocharaka. They would wrap a hard cloth or a soft cloth around the hard cloth, and then they would wrap it around his neck. And each of the one pulls on one side, the other pulls on the other side until he expires. And this is the Rambam says each of the witnesses pulled it. So Tana Rabbanan to the Brisa says, what's the source for this idea? It says in the Pasuk about adultery, the ish asher yinaf as ish asher yinaf as ashes re'eo most you must hano efa noah. As if a man will be adulterous with a married woman, asher yinaf will be adulterous with the wife of his friend, most you must hano efa noah, then he'll be put to death. So when it says ish, that comes to exclude a katan, that excludes the minor, pratla katan. Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
No, no audio.
Okay, so sorry about that. My daughter's at the dentist, and they needed permission to do like a procedure.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Okay. So the Mishnah says ish. So the Gemara says ish pratla katan. A man excluding a minor. If you sleep with, if a man is adultery with a minor, if he's a minor, then he's not responsible. He's not punished for adultery. Asher yinafas eshes ish, will be adulterous with a married woman, prata eshes katan, but not if she's the wife of a minor. Eshes reyeu, the wife of his friend. Prat eshes reyeu, prata eshes acherim. This excludes the case of somebody who was others, like somebody who's not Jewish, like a kuti. That the betrothal of a kuti is not considered a valid marriage. So therefore, the adultery is not considered punishable. Most you must put to death. This means bechenek, that they're put to death for strangulation. Atomer bechenek, o eno elabachas only so some more b'torah. Mean by strangulation, or maybe one of the other three types of death. Amris, so we say kol makom shenemar misa b'torah stam, wherever it says death in the Torah without specifying which type. We don't give anything more severe. And we go back, and earlier in our tractate we studied that the rabbi said that strangulation is the least severe. And so therefore, when the Torah just says you put to death, it means by strangulation. We give them the least of it. That's the position. So Rabbi Yoshai says to give him the least severe penalty, which is strangulation, and whenever it says death by itself. Whereas Rabbi Yonason says, no, it's not that strangulation is the most lenient. Whenever Torah just speaks about death, it means strangulation, unless it specifies differently. And a third position, so we've seen the position of Rabbi Yoshaya, Rabbi Yonason, and Rebbe comes along and says, Nemar misa b'dei shamayim v'nemar misa b'dei adam. It says death from heaven and death from man. Ma misa amur b'dei shemayim misa she'en baroshem. Just like when it speaks about death from heaven, as it says by Enosh, by Yamas Gam Oso, by Onain, it says in the death from heaven, it says that he died also by the children of Judah and Tamar. It says he died also. The children of Judah, the husband of Tamar. It says he died also. So it says death there. And it says death by a human. Ma misa amura bidei shemaya misa shem baroshim. Just like when a person dies from heaven, there's no wound, there's no sign, they just die. So too, av misa amura bidei adam misa shem baroshim. So to the death from a person, when it says death from a cord, it means that there's no outward sign on it. Now the Gemara says, the Ema Sreifa, maybe you're going to get burnt, because didn't we just say in the previous Amud that burning from the outside, you can't tell, it's just the insides that are burnt. So the Gemara says, no, Midamar Rachmana Bas Kohen B'Sreifa, from the fact that the daughter of a Kohen gets burnt, Mikal Dahala Bas Sreifa. So this other type of death is not burning, this other type of death is a different death. And so from the fact that the daughter of the Kohen gets burning, this other death is going to be a different death with strangulation. So now the Gemara analyzes the three opinions. Rabbi Yoshaya, who says that it's the least severe. Rabbi Yonasan, who says it's just strangulation. And Rabbi, who says that, and Rabbi, whose position is that it's like the death of heaven. So Bishlam and Rabbi Yonasan could come first. She explains. Rabbi Yonasan says, Rabbi Yonasan says, I could explain. It says every death in the Torah stam is that's the way it works. But Rabbi can come farish, but Rabbi Bishama, Rabbi Yonasan makes sense according to Rabbi Yonasan. Can come farish Rabbi Latema. Rabbi explained his reasoning above. Rabbi said his reasoning above. Ella Rabbi Oshaya, according to Rabbi Oshaya, how do we know? Hold on one second, just looking up one thing. The Rabbi really is just explaining Rabbi Yonasan. I didn't say that exactly right. Rabbi's not a third position, he's just explaining Rabbi Yonasan's position. So Rabbi Yonasan's position is explained like Rabbi. That's the way that death appears in the from heaven, so too appears that way from a human. But our Rabbi Yoshaya, according to Rabbi Yoshaya, how does he know that there's chenek at all in the Torah? He says whatever Torah doesn't mention it, we give the most lenient one, but how do we know that that's strangulation? So Ema Saif, maybe it's decapitation. So the Gemara says no. Amarava Arba Misos Gemara Gemira. The fact that there are four types of death, that there are four types of death: stoning, burning, decapitation, and strangulation. This is an oral tradition. Gemara Gemira. It's an oral tradition. So now the Gemara analyzes the statement. Amar what does Rabbi Yosef mean when he says not because that strangulation is the least severe, is the most lenient? So, but he ends up being the same thing. So where is he disagreeing with Rabbi Yoshaya? So the Gemara says, they argue about the dispute between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan. You think Rabbi Yoshaya holds like the Rabbanan that strangulation is the least severe, and Rabbi Yonasan agrees with Rabbi Shimon that strangulation is the second to least severe. He just says the general thing is like the death that's listed in but when Misa B'dei Shemayim, death from heaven. So basically, the next mission is going to list all the reasons for which a person is stoned. In some of these cases, hold on. So in some of these cases, the Torah lists stoning to them, but other ones it's Xer Shava. So they take a word and compare it. So Amalei Rabbi Zera Abaya, Sharon Eskalon, Sivu Skill, all those cases where stoning is not explicit, the Gami may Oviadoning, that they learn out from a word comparison, Xera Shava, from the idolatry is called Oven Yadoni, B'mai Gamri. Then how are they learned out? From which word? B'mosimas Gamri or B'demayim Bam Gamri. Do they learn out from the words B'mosimas, or do they learn out from the words Demayim Bam? Amalei B'demayim Dam B'demayim Demayim Bam Gamri. They learn that from Xer Shav of Demayim and Demayim Bam. The Ibn Mosi Masu Gamri, Demayim Lamali. Because if you're going to learn out from Mosi Mas, then what will they learn out from the words blood and blood? So the Gemara says Elamai, but Demayim Gamri, Mosi Masu Lamali. So why does it say Mosi Masu in that category? The Gemara says, I'll tell you why it says Mosi Masu. Kedetanya Mosi Mas Hamalkeru Tzechu. It says that the person who kills is put to death, he's a murderer. I might think that you only kill him by sayif. How do you know that if you can't kill the murderer with decapitation, so you kill him whatever way you can? Put to death regardless. So that was Rabbi Zera's question and the answer that Abaye gave him. So Amrle Rav Hacham Dipto Ravina. So if they learned it out from the case of Mosi Masu, why is it difficult? Why is it difficult? What was bothering him? If you're saying he's bothered by the case of a married woman who gets strangulation, we'll put Xera Shava that they should learn out from Oven Yudani. So that just like by Oven Yudani they get stoning, so to the married woman who gets stoning. So, but it can't be. It can't be that she gets stoning because a regular woman an arusa gets stoning, so a regular woman can't. So what's bothering him is the case of the father or mother who strikes him down. That's difficult to him. Meaning to say that they get if you want to learn that from Ovi and Doni, they get stoning. No, why are you learning from Ovi and Doni? Learning from the married woman, in which case they get strangulation. Because you should be lenient. So therefore, Amrway, Sharon is going Kufayel Kukashli. No, Rabbi Zera was bothered by all the other cases. Even Mosi Mas Gamri, Ad Gamri Ovi Doni, because why are you learning out from Mosi Mas? Learn it out from the married woman that they're strangled. And that was all his question. So now we go to the Mishnah, which we've been discussing. The Mishnah says, Eloin on is going. These are the people who are stoned. Eloin on is going. These are the people who are stoned. We're going to go through all the people who get stoning to death. So, like we said, some of them are listed explicitly in the Torah, and some are learned out from Xer Shava from Oven Yedoni. So, who are the ones who are stoned? Habal Aim, somebody who's with their mother. Val Eshes Av, or with their father's wife, even if she's not his mother. Val Kal, or his daughter-in-law. Val Zachar, with the male. Val Behema, with an animal. Val Isha Mavia Behema, or a woman who has an animal, who sleeps with the animal. Amagadev, the blasphemer. Ovid Avodas Kochavim, the idolater. Vanosim Izaro Moach, one who gives from his seed to Moach. So Rashi says that the Tana is of the position that Moach is not idolatry. And so therefore, he's in a position that it's not idolatry. And basically, what they did was they took their child and they passed it over a flame. It's just a way of serving the nations, but it's not a way of worshiping their God. Ubao Ovi Adoni, and also the one who worships Ov or Yadoni. These are ways of necromancy, communicating with the dead. V'amachalas Shabbos, desecrating Shabbos. Amakal Avavima, one who curses their father and mother. V'habal Nara Marasa, one who sleeps with the betrothed maiden. V'amediach, V'amesis, one who incites. V'amediach, one who causes an entire city to go astray with idolatry. V'machashef, a sorcerer. Ben Sora Mora, a rebellious child. So total of 18. Somebody who's with their mother, you're going to be liable for being with your mother and also with the wife of your father. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, you're only liable for being with your mother. Somebody's with their father's wife, they're liable for being with their father's wife and also a married woman. Whether her father is alive or after his death. So whether she's fully married or just betrothed. So if he's with his daughter-in-law, she's liable for being with his daughter-in-law and a married woman. Whether her son is alive or after his death, whether she's fully married or just betrothed. So Gemara says, Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Amar, I saw let's say his mother was not ru'uya to his father. She wasn't really allowed to be married to his father. And so therefore, then she's only liable for being with her mother, but not for being with a married woman. I mean, what does it mean that she's not fit to be with him? If you want to say that she was prohibited either by kares or death from the court, the rabbis say even though that's not the case, that he'd be liable for being with married women. Always like there's no betrothal. So we're talking about the prohibitions like mamzer or nasin. We're talking about those categories. Hold on. We're talking about those categories. Rabbi Yehuda Savrach, Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda also Rabbi Akiva. Damar ein kedushin tosim chayve lavin. Yehuda says if it's just a regular prohibition, betrothal does not take effect. The marriage is not taking effect. Masav Rav Oshaya. So Rav Oshaya challenges this idea that a kedushin, a betrothal with a woman who you're not allowed to marry, like mom's there, that it doesn't take effect. So Rav Oshaya challenged that Easter mitzvah, Easter kedusha, holtzos. Let's say a Yavama is prohibited to the Yavam by the count of a mitzvah or a lav. So then she requires chalitza, but no yibum. So what's Easter mitzvah? Shnios midivrei sofim. That these are secondary, we're on top of nun gimel mabez. These are secondary prohibitions forbidden by durabanan. For example, a grandmother and so this is usually a person's grandmother or a grandfather's wife. Why is it called the prohibition of mitzvah? Because it's a mitzvah to listen to the words of the stage. Easter kedusha, what's the betrothal of a married? What's called Easter kedusha? Amano a kohen gadol, a widow to a kohen gadol, or a grusha v'chalutza a kohen hedjed, or a divorcee to a regular kohen. My karla Easter kedusha. They're violating the fact that their kohanim are supposed to be holy. Vitanya Allah, Rabbi Yehuda Machlef, Rabbi Yehuda reverses it. And he says that Kohen Gadol is called Easter Mitzvah, it's rabbinic, and the other ones are called Easter Kedusha. He reverses it on Chalitza Bai, but he requires Chalitza. If you want to say he holds like Rabbi Akiva, since these lavin are like chayve krisus, the chayve krisus lavin chalitza v'yibum ninhu. They can't have yibum, so why does he require chalitza? So Gemara says, he's saying, according to the Tanakama, this is what he means by Easter Kedusha and Easter Mitzvah, but he doesn't agree with him. Right, when Rabbi Yitzchak came, he said exactly like Rabbi Yehuda said, you're only liable for the mother, but not for his father's wife, because he's not liable for being father's wife. Time am I? She is your mother, which implies because of your mother, you're liable, but not because she's your father's wife. What about when it says in the pasuk, the wife of your father's wife, you should not reveal she is your father's wife? Mishum Eishes Avata Mechayev V'Yata Mechayev Mishum Imo. We could say the exact logic that you're only liable because she's your father's wife, but not for your mother. Ela Imo Shei Eishes Aviv. So in the case where your mother is your father's wife, Kai Hacham L'Mailait, Kai Hacham L'Mailah. So on the one hand, the pasuk is excluding his mother because she's his father's wife. On the other hand, it's excluding his father's wife since she's his mother. So we see if your mother is not your father's wife, you're responsible. So your father's wife is not your mother is responsible. But what about your mother, who's your father's wife? You say you're not responsible at all. She's your mother. We say we're going to say this like Rav Shesha in the name of Rav Idi, where we're going to get to that actually on tomorrow's daf. So so what's the source for Rav Yehuda? Arvasa mishum ervas achas atamachayv. We only hold them liable for one nakedness. We have to machayv mishum shtei ervas, but not for two arayos. If that's the case, she's your daughter-in-law. You should not reveal her nakedness as the wife of your son. You're liable for only one, but not two. But we learn in the Mishnah, so one's Rahman with the daughter-in-law, they're liable for being with the daughter-in-law and a married woman. Whether their son is alive or not. So Rabbi Yehuda doesn't argue. So we say that since it's one body, even though there are two separate prohibitions, it says it's nakedness in the singular. It's like it's written in the singular. So that's this is the psukim are a little challenging, but once we go over it again, doubling on Shabbos, it'll be much sharper. We'll go a little slower, but we'll get a taste of the daf for Shabbos, and come Shabbos, we'll go in and we'll be much sharper. Baruch Hashem. All right, we'll stop
Thank
here.
you.
I hope to see everyone soon. God willing, good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Thank you. Good
Good
job.
Shabbos.